Hey everyone, welcome to our next video in the Survive and Thrive series. Got together today with Claire Gamble, as we're going to talk around how businesses can bounce back from the current crisis, talking around some of the strategies that you may want to employ, how we can make the best use of the bounce back loan if we've applied for it, or how else we can invest in new campaigns and new strategies to try and pick up from where we left off. So first and foremost, just do a couple of quick introductions. So Claire, over to you.
Yeah, hi, so I'm Claire Gamble. I run Unhook Communications, which is a PR agency, and we work with national and international businesses to help them get in front of their customers and get talked about all in the right way. And I'm also the founder of PR Unlocked, which is an online training course, and it's full of lots of resources, paid and free, to help small businesses and startups do their own PR.
Excellent, thank you. And just a quick introduction to myself. So my name is Mike Pye. I've been working in marketing for nearly 14 years now, both agency and client side, before I set up my own business, which is now in its fifth year. And we help businesses develop bespoke marketing strategies and then connect them with excellent specialists to help implement those strategies. So just a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about today then. So we're going to be looking at about why now is the perfect time to be thinking about bouncing back after a tough 6 to 8 weeks or so. Some of the considerations that we need to think about. How we can start rethinking our marketing and PR strategies so that they work together in tandem to best effect, and focusing really on how we can use this opportunity as a competitive advantage. I suppose it would be quite good, Claire, just to start off with talking about some of the questions that we're getting asked from a client point of view. What kind of challenges are your clients facing at the moment?
Yeah, so it's, as you say, it's been a very strange couple of months for everyone, and a lot of businesses have been looking at what they're offering and who they're offering it to. So for some of our clients, that's meant a bit of a refocus and a bit of a reshuffle. So the marketing and PR plans that we had 6 months ago are now being updated, so that they're in line with what they're trying to achieve from a business point of view. So that's things like they're targeting slightly different audiences, and also kind of refining what they're offering as well. So it might be offering slightly different products at a different price point, for example, looking at more kind of cost-effective options and products, also more flexible services as well, because I think at the moment a lot of, especially kind of B2B buyers, aren't necessarily looking to be tied into things for a long period of time, so they're looking for that flexibility, and also just thinking about how people are working and living and just doing all the stuff that we're used to doing but in a totally different way. So face-to-face meetings and events aren't working, but we work with some clients who've got certain technology which can help businesses to carry on operations but in a different way. So it's looking at because we work with a lot of B2B businesses in particular, so it's helping clients to look at what the new problems are that they can help their customers solve. So it's all kind of, for a lot, we're not really working with any businesses which are doing massive changes and ripping up their business plan and completely pivoting, absolutely, but they are all kind of updating and tweaking and refining, and things are changing, and so we're adapting because they're adapting their business. What about you?
Yeah, very similar. I think we've gone from a period where many clients, really slowed down, had to react very, very quickly to the events that were unfolding, furloughing staff, cutting back, having to review their own business plans. So, for quite a number of clients, that meant putting a bit of a pause on activity. But then I suppose over the last 2 or 3 weeks in particular, the questions have all started to arise as to, once I've dealt with that immediate problem, is now, right, how do we get back to where we were, and how are we going to react to a very, very different situation? And I suppose that's manifested itself in across all clients really, across all sorts of different sectors, is how they can start trading again effectively in a different way. It's raised a few interesting challenges, which I suppose we'll come on to as we talk about it. But idea generation and being creative and generating creative ideas at a time when everybody is at home, stressed, exhausted, with numerous Zoom calls, so many distractions. Those usual sort of creative times where everyone would come together and create new ideas and initiatives and brainstorm different things has been very challenging for people. But yeah, I mean, a lot of clients are now, especially over the last couple of weeks, are now starting to think about how they can digitize their products and services to a great extent as well. So that's a lot of service-based businesses are trying to rethink how they deliver their services. Maybe they pivot and turn them into training products or something that can be delivered online in an accessible and engaging way. All sorts of different things. So yeah, it's an interesting time when a lot of people are having to be very, very creative, which is obviously leading into how they can then take that to market effectively. Clients are doing some really great stuff in terms of creating new ideas and products and services, but you've got to get it in front of the right audiences in the right way.
Exactly. And we will talk about the bounce back loan now, but I think for some businesses in particular, if they've kind of had to, just kind of almost pause activity for a bit, and while they're kind of reviewing what they're doing for a business and who they're targeting and what it is that they're selling and how they're going to help people. But this bounce back loan, which people can now apply for, businesses can apply for, I think this will be quite good for all those ideas and the plans that people wanted to do. Even maybe, I was chatting to you about one of the ideas that I'm doing for my own business, like sort of using some of these resources that we've got now to kickstart and really give things a push. So do you want to give us a quick run through about the bounce back loan? And
sure. So obviously I'm not in a position to give a lot of opinion on it, but I suppose from my personal perspective, we've applied for it and I think it's fantastic, just purely for that reason, as giving us that opportunity to go out and invest in some new initiatives and new ideas. But essentially it's a brilliant initiative from the government actually to really kickstart the economy, and I think they should be commended for that really, because it's so easy to apply for, as opposed to a lot of the previous funding arrangements that were in place, which have been quite convoluted and time consuming. This for a lot of businesses that I know have applied for it and within days have had the money in their accounts, which is brilliant. In simple terms, businesses can borrow between £2,005 and £50,000 or up to 25% of their turnover. It's 100% government backed. There's no personal guarantees required, which is really, really important for business owners, because the loan is based on the actual business as opposed to being personally responsible for it. 6 years to pay it back, and there's no repayments and for the first 12 months. So although we've got to think about paying it back eventually, it gives us a real opportunity right now to try and give the economy a boost and start the wheels turning again. Like you said, you're thinking about a few campaigns that you're going to be launching by having this opportunity, and likewise this end as well. There's a few projects that we're working on, and a lot of our clients are working on too, which is now giving them the opportunity to get cracking with that. From our perspective, we're working on some technology, we're working on some marketing campaigns, website updates, all those things that would normally probably be on the back burner for the time being. It's now giving us that opportunity to go out and get it done, which will obviously filter down through the economy as well, which is fantastic, especially if a lot of other people are using it for those reasons as well. I mean, the purpose of it is for both that and for working cash flow too. So it's brilliant to be able to help businesses just get running again, basically.
Yeah, that's it. And I think for some businesses, whether they haven't done much PR marketing in the past, or whether they have but they've changed what direction their business is going in and what strategy they're using moving forward, it's quite a good opportunity to use some of the loan, or if there's any other kind of additional cash that's come into the business, to look at how you use some of that with PR and marketing, so that you can really help to make sure that you're getting a return on investment in what you're doing. So I think, because it was my accountant who sort of said with her clients, with a sort of a closed group that we've got, she was just like, this is a really good opportunity for you to use some of this to get a good return on investment, to use it to go and get new business, to get new customers, to get new clients. So hopefully it's a really exciting opportunity for lots of businesses.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what we all need to be focused on at the moment, isn't it? We've got to try and do everything we can to improve our businesses, improve our lead generation, improve the way our brand is perceived, generate some engagement, so that when the cogs start turning again, people think of us first, and we first to bounce back. Yeah, so we've just on this slide as well, just included Helen Fleet's details as well. So Helen Fleet is a freelance finance director, absolutely fantastic. So I suppose just to signal, if anyone's got any particular questions around the intricacies of any of the funding arrangements, cash flow, all of those common issues, then contact Helen. Her details are there, her email address is there, so she's in a great place to be able to help. So yeah, so the next little bit about what does bouncing back actually mean. So I suppose we've covered a little bit from that previous slide, but from my client's point of view, the last sort of 6 to 8 weeks have had a massive impact. But it's meant that, you know, they're really having to be creative and rethink a lot of the way that they do business. So for some, that has actually meant completely reviewing the business model. What was a purely face-to-face business in the past has now had to be ripped up completely and think about how they can deliver it online. Others have had to think about targeting new markets with their existing products, and trying to be creative in the way that they can innovate those and evolve them to be relevant to other people. Some are looking at developing completely new products and services. Some are having to deliver them in different ways. And like you said a few minutes ago, everyone has had to completely rip up their marketing strategy. Right, they've all gone into this year with a plan and a strategy of how they're going to achieve their objectives, and then this comes out of the blue, and you've had to kind of rip it up. Yeah. So they're all in that space where they're kind of having to think about what do we do next? How do we do as best as we can over the next 3 to 6 months and develop a new plan to help them achieve that? And that plan has to be very, very reactive and very agile to make sure that we can react quickly to the events that are coming.
Yeah, that's right. Because I think even if there's some businesses that haven't had to dramatically change what they do, they've still had to change how they do it. And whether that's how they communicate with their employees, or provide customer service, or sell, or provide quotes, or any of that, you know, businesses have had to change very quickly. And it's, for a lot of businesses, we're still a long way off getting back to normal, if we ever get back to the normal. And whenever people always sort of talk about marketing and PR strategies, they're always just like, well, what should it do? How does it work? And it's just like, well, it always needs to come back to whatever the business is doing. Like, so it's good that businesses have been using the time to kind of review, sit back, think about how they can kind of continue moving forward. And it's been really good working with clients closely to make sure that the marketing and PR strategies are in line as well. And I think it's really important for businesses to include marketing and PR people, whether that's their internal teams or external teams, just so that they're getting additional insights as well, and so that the marketing and PR strategies and plans can start to be updated at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned a really good point there about the sales process as well. I think so many businesses are used to, you know, a very face-to-face. It might start with networking, it might be, you know, based on having multiple visits and client ideas sessions and all those sort of things, with lots of face-to-face contact and bonding. Whereas now we need to try and think about how we digitize that completely.
If you think about big businesses who've got big sales teams who, you know, they're out on the road, they're meeting their customers face to face, they're showing them all the new products and they're talking through how they work and the benefits and all of that, and providing point of sale displays for in their stores and everything like that. Now, who knows when we'll go back to that way of working. So suddenly businesses are having to find a lot more digital assets that they can share and still work with customers, but all kind of virtually and online.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and there's so many different tools that can help with that. It's about kind of maybe taking a bit of a step back and mapping out that journey that you tend to go through with a prospect, and how then that now translates to a new world, and how you can use various different technologies to help that, make that seamless. But yeah, important point. So that leads nicely on to what businesses need to consider, really, if they're going through that whole process of evolving how their business works, evolving their products and services. Then there's quite a lot of questions that need to be asked on the back of that. So it might be that they have a completely new, different target audience, or that their current target audience needs to be spoken to in a different way or through different channels. Their messaging may need to completely be changed to react to the current status quo. The competition is obviously an important point as well, because you know now's a really great opportunity to take a bit of a leap on the competition, because there's a lot of people, a lot of businesses that are being very forward thinking, but others that are maybe stuck in a bit of a rut. And those businesses that kind of really focus now can probably reap the benefits in a few months' time against their competition.
Yeah, definitely. One thing as well, I think, when thinking about these points that you're going through for businesses, if they're still kind of on that journey of updating business plans, is that what they change it to now, that doesn't have to be this case forever. It might, I think, throughout this whole process, like what you just said about you need to be sort of agile and adaptable, and so it will need constant reviewing. So, and at first that might be weekly, it might be monthly, and until we know what's happening in the future, like none of us have got a crystal ball. So just because you're setting a new plan now, it might not look like that at the end of the year, or even in a few months' time.
Yeah. I think that goes for any plan as well. You know, when we're working with clients, we always develop long-term strategies, but you've got to work in regular moments.
Absolutely, yeah, reviews, yeah.
As good as a plan is, there's always a curveball that comes in which makes it redundant very quickly, and if you stick to
like a global pandemic.
Yeah, but yeah, I suppose that plan needs to include, you know, right now is where are your customers right now, and how are they feeling about your products and services? How can you communicate them in the right way? How can you connect with them in a slightly different way? People are online more than they ever have been. They are engaging on social media more than they ever have been. Channels like email are performing brilliantly compared to a few months ago because of that, you know, heavy use of online. So businesses need to be kind of thinking about all those different channels, and maybe channels that they hadn't really explored or done much of before need to kind of be quite a big part of the funnel. Video is one of those things. I think in particular a lot of businesses have been a little bit slow to the mark with video, but are now finding that there's a great opportunity to be able to communicate in all sorts of different ways throughout the whole of that journey by creating video and doing some great video at home, which with the technology that we've got now is relatively easy, even with just, you know, your iPhone or your smartphone in any way. They're so good now that we can create brilliant video at home for all parts of our marketing campaign. So it's a good time to sort of try out new ideas and test and see what works, see what sticks. So there'll likely be things that we can take on in the future a lot as well.
I think it's a really good opportunity as well for businesses to, if they don't already, and because I think businesses are looking at who they're targeting, is to be really specific. And I think, and I include myself within this, but often businesses are a bit too scared to like really own a niche market. And I think now though, as long as that niche market is kind of in the market to buy and do stuff, I think that will help to strengthen what businesses are doing. And so I think businesses shouldn't be too scared to be too specific, like rather than just do the scattergun approach where they're trying to target everyone, because there is a lot of noise out there, because all the points that you like rightly pointed out, but a lot of businesses are thinking, right, we need to be doing loads of webinars, we need to be doing this, we need to be doing that. Whereas if you're super specific, you can really help to solve specific challenges of that audience and become known. So if you're choosing your markets carefully, it could be a really good opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. I think now is the perfect time for that brand building as well. I think in terms of, reviewing all your marketing to date and trying to use this opportunity to bounce back to some extent, then focusing on brand is a great starting point. Reviewing all of your brand assets and collateral, making sure that it's all fantastic and on point, so you're and really focus, like you say, on that target audience that you're going to be focusing on. Auditing all your content, seeing what's relevant for today and what you can repurpose, what other content we can create that's going to be really captivating. It doesn't have to be loads, it doesn't have to be prolific, but just top quality content that you can then repurpose into lots and lots of other different formats to make a bit more of a budget as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So why do people need to buy? Over to you.
Yeah, so I just kind of wanted to talk through, because I think sometimes business, like within businesses, especially if they've not necessarily done a lot of marketing and PR before, they get told that they need it, but they don't quite understand how it all fits with what they're doing as a business. So I think if we always kind of go back to why do people buy, because at the end of the day, business in the most simplest of forms is a business sells something, whether it's product or a service which somebody wants or needs. So ultimately you will have a product or service that somebody out there wants or needs. So that's what we start with. And then, but why should they buy it off you rather than somebody else? Well, it's all around trust, reputation, credibility, the brand as well. If you think about, say, I don't know, like trainer brand, if you're a consumer, why do you choose Nike over Adidas? It's because of the whole image around it and the style, things like that. But it could also be around, well, none of us going on holiday for a little while, I don't think, but holiday companies, for example, especially at the moment with a lot of holiday companies, it's like the industry's in trouble. And so if you were to book a holiday, whether it's for next year or something, you're likely to look at, well, which holiday company is likely to still be around then as well. So that all kind of comes back to the trust, reputation and credibility. But as well as that, like, people need to find you and they need to know about you. So that might be they find you through an online search, or it might be a friend or relative or a business contact recommends you, or it might be that they've come across you in a trade publication, or they've seen you on TV or something like that. So people need to know about you. Like, I don't know about you, but I have a lot of conversations with businesses who, like, and they will have like pretty successful businesses as well, but they want to grow even more, and they always say to me, like, where the industry's best kept secret, or where Manchester's best kept secret. And there are so many best kept secrets out there, and it's amazing that businesses have done so well how they are without doing PR and marketing. But I think it always makes me smile when people say we're the best kept secret, because you shouldn't be a secret. If you're good at what you do, people should know about it.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, the last few weeks as well has been really interesting, because there's been quite a lot of people that I know who maybe have been a little bit not suspicious of marketing, but probably not seeing the value in it as much. But then obviously in the last 6 weeks or so, they've been really active. the situation has caused them to be really active.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they're being loads more visible. They're creating amazing content. They are showing how credible they are through the stuff that they're producing, and all of a sudden, generating opportunities.
Yeah.
That's how marketing works.
Yeah. And it was interesting. I think it was last year I went to an event. I think it was hosted by Barclays, an accountancy company. I can't remember which one. But it was a panel of business owners or former business owners who had sold their business. And so it's talking about like how they exited their business and the different ways that they went about it. And there was one lady there who took over a building materials company back in, I think it was 2007, and she talked about how she took it over. It was a successful business, and then all of a sudden the recession hit and everything just went like that. And she was in an awful position, but it's a family run business, but they basically invested in PR and marketing to get them out of it. And towards the end of the event, I asked the panel, like, if you were to give any business owners advice about what to do so that they were building a strong business that they could sell in the future, or so that it just kind of was as successful as possible, each one of them said PR and marketing. And even like the compere was like, oh, are you a mole in the audience? Because it was amazing publicity for me. But each of them, they all had very different businesses, all very different experiences and stories, but they all said that their brand, the marketing and PR was like the most important thing.
Yeah.
And so I think, like you say, a lot of businesses now, when the market is like, ooh, completely up in the air, are suddenly thinking like, right, I need to get in front of people, I need to attract the right attention. But if you were doing that when business is going well as well, imagine how much bigger and stronger the brand and the business could be.
I suppose it's, a lot of people will say, okay, it's easy for you to say that, but I suppose just easy for both of us to say that. But I suppose just putting it into context, that's what we're both focused on as well at the moment for our own individual businesses. We are focusing on our own marketing and PR. That's kind of where all our efforts are focused at the moment, and all our investment is with new ideas and strategies and projects and research that we're commissioning and all that sort of thing. So yeah, we're not just preaching it, we're
practicing it, trying to. Okay, and then so here as well, like just a few kind of ways that businesses can do this, and these are all kind of things that marketing and PR do as well. So if people need or want your product or service, like how do they know that they need or want it? So things like explainer videos, pros and cons, reviews, free trials, tools and scorecards. I think you've been looking at those quite a bit recently, haven't you, with some clients and for your own business as well?
Yeah, exactly. So just new ways that we can offer more value to our customers by helping them find solutions to their problems through information. So the scorecard, for example, is a great little tool to be able to help people work out what challenges they're actually facing, and help them understand where they are in terms of solving that problem, and then give them obviously some great content in return to help them with that, which is great for our lead generation because we can capture their data, but also provides them with an awful lot of value about where they're currently at within their business.
Yeah, no, yeah, they're good. And I think because they're quite interactive, and I know I've personally used some sort of like scorecards and tools and stuff, and because it's that people, like, it sparks their interest, isn't it? And it sort of makes them think like, oh, I wonder where I am and how I compare against others. So I think they're really engaging. But there's other things as well, like advice, how-to articles, content marketing, which is such a big thing, but there's all sorts you can do within content marketing, like podcasts and videos and things like that. And ultimately you want to inform and inspire people, because I think depending what business you are, what product or what service you're offering, needs and wants are slightly different. So that kind of, if you need a new home office setup, you might need a table and chair, a desk and chairs, but you might want like 3 screens and like some pretty pictures and like the best Bluetooth devices and everything. So it's kind of tapping into the psychology behind why people want to buy. And then thinking about trust, reputation and credibility. So branding plays a big part in this. Case studies, testimonials, reviews, news stories. all sorts of, like, everything that you can see there. And one example that I give when I'm doing some training around the relationship between SEO and PR, going back to holiday companies, if you were searching for, I don't know, a fortnight in Spain for a family of 4, and I mean, anyone can sort of pay, like with pay-per-click Google ads, you can pay to be on the top of the search results. But for something like a holiday, which costs a lot of money, if you've never heard of a holiday company, you're just about to give them a few £1,000s, like, you want to make sure that they're reputable and trustworthy. So even if you come across a brand or a business, if you've not come across them before, you don't know anything about them, chances are you might then go away and do your own research. So you'll be looking for things like reviews, testimonials, case studies. And I think that's really important, especially I think for B2B buyers. I've not got it off the top of my head, but there's a statistic. I think B2B buyers will they'll research something about 13 times before they even start contacting businesses. And obviously, as a consumer, if we just want to buy a new top or something, as long as we've got the money for it, we don't need to necessarily do too much research. But for B2B buyers, that research and making sure that they're engaging with reputable, trustworthy businesses and suppliers is so important.
That's why I suppose that's where it goes back to how important it is to be able to think about that whole customer journey and prospect journey, and what content needs to be created at each of those stages to make sure that there is something for people to digest and to nurture them through that process.
Yeah.
Right from that research phase through to the final sale, we need to be able to create a content and an amazing journey to try and drive people through that, and to be able to inform, inspire, and convince and convert the people.
A lot of it's like reassurance as well. I mean, there's, depending what sector you're in, there could be, I mean, even if I just think about like PR and marketing, like the sectors that we're in, there are so many different PR and marketing companies out there, and often kind of referrals, word of mouth, like that goes a long way, because people trust people that they know. Like, it's especially for kind of, I think, service-based businesses, because you're not buying a product off the shelf, you do need that extra trust.
Yeah, definitely.
And then people need to find you as well. So there's things like search engine optimization, pay-per-click, paid social ads. With some of the kind of content marketing you could do lead generation, which then means that you've got a database where you can be sending out newsletters and promotions. And also thinking about when people are on the website, making sure that user experience is great, because we all know it's annoying to go on rubbish websites. But kind of within all those tools and tactics, they kind of cover both kind of marketing and PR and feed into each other a lot.
Yeah, I suppose, that all of those things are things that we're currently working on in our own businesses at the moment. So I suppose just one in particular example, I think there's a great opportunity at the moment for paid activity. The last 6 to 8 weeks or so, we've seen a drop in general cost per click on various different channels. Google, Facebook ads are cheaper than they have been, because businesses are pulling back their budgets so much that there is less competition, and it's driving the price down. Like I said, there's also more people online and on those channels than ever, and there's a great opportunity to try and test the waters with some of those channels, and see if they can be a good technique for the business. So using them in my own business at the moment, we're doing some paid activity to support content that we're creating and webinars that we're producing, particularly using lead gen tools to try and help us expose ourselves to a new audience. Because I suppose the challenges with social media is a lot of businesses get stuck in their own little echo chamber. They've got their followers, they've got the people who know them and follow them all the time, and it's difficult to then generate a lot of engagement and a lot of potential new leads and stuff from social media, unless you're doing a bit of specific campaigns to try and venture outside of your own audience. And that's where paid channels really come into their own. and it means you can try and tackle new markets and expose yourself to other people. So that's one particular area that we're working a lot on for our own business at the moment, to try and help us get out of that echo chamber a little bit.
Yeah, and the targeting's just really clever, isn't it? I know there's a business that I know, and they've just launched a Kickstarter, and when they launched it, I was chatting to them and they were like, oh, I'm not sure it's the best time to be launching a Kickstarter campaign, but they had a really, really clever paid social strategy, and they've completely hit their target like really early as well. And I have bought all sorts of things from Instagram ads recently, the last few weeks in lockdown, so yeah, businesses are supporting me very well.
You can target such a granular level. It means that, you know, with some thought and some understanding of the tools, you can make a lot out of a limited budget by being very, very niche in terms of your targeting, and making sure that your ads that you're delivering are very, very specific to that audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So yeah, there's some nice discussion there, some ideas to focus on. I thought I'd just sort of sum up with a few areas that I think businesses should consider investing some time, energy, or money into over the next couple of months, really. So we've talked around a lot of those already. So, you know, designing new products and services, making sure that the way that you'll deliver them is right for the market. But there's a few other things in here as well that I suppose I haven't really touched on. So partnerships are a really amazing opportunity. Now is a time that everyone is at home and probably desperate for some level of communication. And partnerships are a great way for businesses to, especially in the B2B market, I suppose, to be able to grow their audience and expose themselves to a whole new customer base. And there's time right now, I suppose, to be creative with that. Think about those businesses that have a similar target market to you, and working out how you can create those partnerships with them. It could be purely for sharing each other's content, or it could be a more of an in-depth relationship where there's a contra deal or commission basis or something like that for exposing and working together on campaigns. But I think that's a really, really big opportunity right now for people to be able to focus on and, you know, creating those partnership campaigns. And I suppose then, sorry, go on.
Just going to say as well, for businesses, I think it's a way of them offering their audience kind of added value as well, because if it's kind of a complementary business or providing additional insights or information or help on something, then it's kind of helps. And it also goes back to what I was saying about referrals and recommendations. I think especially for service-based businesses and even product-based businesses as well, but often people want to work with people that they know they can trust, and they know they can trust people that their other like colleague can recommend. So I think that can really help.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, we've commented on a lot of these other areas already, but I suppose that the starting point for me would be doing a proper audit on where you are at as a business, how your model fits right now, how are you planning to get in front of your audience with new products and services? Are you planning to relaunch, try and make a big bang about coming back, or launch new products and services? And thinking about that in depth means that you can then try and work out what other areas that you might need help with, or you might need to invest in to make that a success. So it could be, you know, that you need to invest in some training or some development for your team to be able to deliver, you know, against your objectives. It could be that you need to experiment with new channels to get in front of your audience. It might mean that you need a whole new technology suite, or you might need to invest in actually spending some time looking at the technology that you have got and making sure that you're using it effectively. So many businesses, I find, invest in, you know, quite complicated or in-depth systems, like, you know, CRM systems in particular, and hardly ever use any of the features. It just becomes one fancy database in the sky, which never really, they don't use all the fantastic automation and stuff like that that's available within them. It's a great time to sort of look at all the tech that you're using right now and making sure you're using it effectively. or maybe look at investing in some new technology, because there's so many great deals at the moment. Most of them are tech companies are offering various different introductory deals or free upgrades and all sorts of different things to try and bring in new clients as well. So it's a great time to check out some new technology from that point of view. And look into maybe how you can automate a lot of the processes that you're working on. I think that's a really important one too, because a lot of businesses are actually, they're downsizing to some extent. They might be because they're furloughed staff, they might be having to make redundancies, which is a shame. But there's so much technology out there which can actually, make you more efficient and reduce the amount of people we need within the business, or just take away some of that donkey work to make people more impactful. Take some of the admin out of what they're doing, so they can use their time more effectively to be creative and to do things that have higher value. So thinking about and investing in automation, is a really, really important area too.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well, everyone's having to be a bit more efficient, because whether teams have been furloughed or people are juggling homeschooling with work, and even though a lot of people if business people can work from home, you think, well, you're saving time and commuting and everything, but just in general, I think at times it's all a bit weird, and I think you have to make the best use. So this definitely, I think I'm all for automation and spending as less time as possible on the things that don't need your brain power.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. So I think we covered pretty much of all of the other things. Move on to the PR side of things.
Yeah, so just as a bit of a snapshot and what we can do as a PR agency and PR partner, because it is very closely linked with marketing. But so this is just a bit of a snapshot of what we do with clients and how we work with them and how we help to do all those things that I was talking about earlier, in terms of helping people to understand why they want or need your product, helping to build that trust, and also helping to get found and known in the first place. So PR strategy, we've kind of talked about strategy a lot, into making sure that it's linked with business strategy and complements the marketing strategy as well. Thought leadership is all about positioning you as an expert in your area, in your industry. So this is often really important for B2B businesses again, and especially if you're changing your approach. So if you're maybe targeting slightly different markets to what you have been before, or you're not that well known within certain sectors, like thought leadership can be a great way for you to share your expertise and your knowledge and your opinions to this audience. So people, and that really adds a lot of trust and credibility. Case studies that we've mentioned, so case studies could be in all sorts of formats. So Mike, I'm sure you've worked on some with some of your clients, but we've done everything from kind of video case studies to kind of more just written ones for websites, to ones for like magazines and newspapers as well. And case studies are brilliant because it adds that reassurance when people are looking and researching and looking for testimonials of the examples of the great work that you've done. Product placement, so if you've got a product-based business, product placements within the media, this could be anything from shopping guides to gift guides, to top 10 things to buy for X, Y and Z. These are really, really effective. We worked with a product-based business just before Christmas, and they had a new range of luxury chocolate that was out, and through kind of all these product placements within national media, we completely sold out before Christmas. And these are great because they're actually for people looking to buy stuff, and these journalists and media are saying, buy this, it's one of the best. So they're great. Press office, which is kind of dealing with media inquiries, and also proactively pitching things to the media, such as news stories. Link building, so I mentioned earlier that PR and SEO can work together really nicely, and some of the stuff that we can do working with SEO specialists as well is kind of specifically to do news stories and content marketing plans, which will build links in kind of national, regional media and trade media.
Yeah, that's a really important one, I think, because I think a lot of business people are a little bit confused around content marketing, and they don't sort of pull together all of the opportunities available content, and give it the thinking that it needs, really. So it might be that they just like, oh, we've got somebody in house who can just knock out some blogs on various different topics, but there's no real thought gone into, well, is that content right for our audience, and is that going to be engaging and position us in the right way and position us as thought leaders and all that sort of thing. But they're also maybe not thinking about how it also helps with search, how we can optimize that content for search. But very rarely do they think about, I think, how that then links to PR strategy, and how that content can be the conduit to more exposure through the press.
Because you mentioned on the slide before about market research, and I love market research. That's where I'm focusing a lot of my PR and marketing for my own business at the moment. And the reason why I love it is because you get all this data which you can use for your own business development, but then you can also use the data to create stories which will be of interest to your target media. You can write reports, white papers for your own website. You can use the information and data as topics for like virtual roundtables or seminars or webinars. And all of this stuff, it all kind of feeds in together, and there's so much you can use with that data. So for example, if we're writing a press release based on some of the results to send out to the media and pitch it to journalists, if there's somewhere on the website that we can link back to, then we will try and get a link back to that page on the website, which will then help support SEO. And then when people go to the website, they can enter an email address to download the full guide, then you're getting lead generation as well. So it all kind of works together, and I think there's just so much you can do with it, and that's why it's important to not just think about your content marketing, your SEO, your PR all completely separately. They need to, even if you've got separate teams doing it, get them talking so that they know what everyone's working on.
Definitely, yeah, that's how you kind of get more bang for your buck as well. Things work together better when each of those people are working collaboratively rather than working in their own individual silos. On the research side of things, is it expensive? How do people go about doing it? I mean,
there's different ways. So there's a few market research companies that we work with. So some of them can offer, it depends as well, it's worth pointing out, depending on your audience, if you're targeting consumers and you want to get some good media coverage from it, you probably want a sample size of 2,000 as a minimum. So there's one market research company that we use where you can do a question, and I think it's about £250. But typically, to kind of create a nice solid story and also get those additional insights that you can use for your own business, you'd probably be looking at least 5 questions. But it can vary. I mean, anything, typically if we're running surveys, it would cost anywhere between about £1,000 and £5,000, depending on the audience and how many questions we're asking. But say if we did more the top end of that for consumers, you might get, I don't know, 15 questions or something, but within that you can maybe get 3 different stories, and obviously use it in a lot of different ways. So it's a bit of an investment, but
in the scheme of things, start thinking about how you can use that across so much.
You use it so much stuff, and that data, you can use it for a whole year, and you can use it within your own kind of sales and marketing material, on your website, social media, and you chop it up, and there's just endless possibilities of what you can do with it. I mean, you need to know what you're trying to find out. If you want to do market research for a B2B audience, it is more expensive because so for example, we're looking at doing some research with architects at the moment. So it's costing probably about 3 times as much as what a consumer survey would. And we're also not getting as big a sample size, but because it's more specific and niche. So it is an investment. If you want to do it in a more cost-effective way, cost-effective is the wrong word, cheaper, because it's not as good, you can do Google surveys. So you can pay, so when you go on news websites and it won't let you read an article until you answer a question. So those are like Google surveys. So we have in the past done some like that, and you can maybe do it for £100, £200 for the survey, but the results take longer. The quality of the results isn't necessarily as good. If you work with a proper market research company, they help to make sure that it's all in line with like the market research rules and codes of conduct and all of that. And it can be quite quick to turn around as well. But yeah, I'm a big fan of market research. I think it's great.
Yeah, likewise. Great. Hijacked that a little bit, sorry.
What did you just say?
I just hijacked what you were talking about. We just went off into a bit of a research.
Researching about market research. And then just one other thing that I just wanted to particularly pull out with this was online learning. So one thing that we started doing with clients quite a lot of, because we work a lot with businesses within the construction sector, and often they target architects, and architects have to do CPDs, as a lot of professions do each year. But CPDs can be, and online learning can be a really good way of targeting and engaging and informing your target audience, and that kind of helps to build trust. And so from an architect's point of view, the companies that we work with want to do CPDs targeting architects in the hope that when they're specifying products for a project, that they specify those ones because they know how they work and they've got that trust. So
a nice lesson there for a lot of service businesses, I think, that are struggling to deliver what they currently do because of the market, and how that they can translate that into potentially educational tools.
Absolutely. And I think because some of the businesses before the current pandemic hit, the businesses that we were working with were looking at online learning and online courses and online CPDs because they wanted to target more people or people in like a bigger area. So online is just more, it's quicker and it's more cost effective. But now we can't meet people face to face. A lot of people, so thinking about what I was mentioning earlier about, you've got businesses which have got whole sales teams which are used to going out into the road to meet customers face to face. They can't do that anymore. So it's looking at what resources you've got already or what resources we can pull together. So that's something that PR and marketing teams can support with, because with online learning, for it to be really effective, you've got to tell stories, you've got to solve problems, but you've got to deliver the information in an engaging way and also make sure that it looks good as well. As that's one thing that we've previously been helping clients do, but we're seeing a lot more opportunities within that market as well, because it's just such a good way for businesses to engage with people.
Yeah, definitely.
And then the others, I think, are kind of bits of explanatory. So crisis comms, we've had a lot of crisis comms up front. But this is something I think businesses who've always thought, oh yeah, we will get a crisis comms plan in place one day, have finally thought, oh really, we should have done that, shouldn't we? So now's the time, if you don't have a strategy and plan in place, because it is better to prepare for if bad stuff happens before it happens, rather than to have to be totally reactive. So you can have strategy workshops and things to make sure that it's all planned for, and especially if you are changing tact with what you're doing with your business, what you're offering, who you're offering your services or products to. It's important to make sure that you're updating your crisis comms plan for that as well. Integrated campaigns just kind of give you more bang for your buck. So it's looking at PR, but also how it works with SEO, pay-per-click, lead generation, things like that. But yeah, so that's just a bit of a snapshot of what businesses might think about when it comes to their PR at the moment.
Great stuff.
And yeah, and just talking about channels as well. So this kind of covers PR and marketing. So I think when we talk about PR, a lot of people think of it as just the media, like newspapers, magazines, TV, radio, online. But these days, because the media landscape's changing so much, and it's changed so much even just like in the last few years, we look at what we call the PESO model, which is paid, earned, owned and shared. And I think this is why it's so important for PR and marketing not to be seen as separately, to kind of work together. So you've got paid, which Mike, I know you do a lot of, so like pay-per-click, paid social, which we were just talking about, earned, which is your media, or the sort of traditional media, but also online. Can also be things like, I don't know, like reviews, and it's if you earn that trust and you earn that coverage. Own, so that's your own channels with content marketing, so your own website, your own YouTube, your own social media. And shared, so thinking about shareable content, encouraging other people to share it, other businesses. And so when we're thinking about campaign ideas and when we're thinking about the best approach, for different businesses, they may have it weighted in a slightly different way, but we want to try and make sure that we're looking at all 4 of those different channels.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of businesses focus on their own channel heavily and kind of neglect the others, and then wonder why they're not really progressing as quickly as they should be. You need to kind of think about all of those in their entirety, and it don't necessarily have to be expensive. It doesn't need to be investing a lot of money, but it does need to have some consideration. Again, it'll help people get out of their own, out of their own little echo chambers.
That's right. And see, it's funny that you say a lot of people focus on owned, and I think that reflects a lot of the work that you do with clients, because I think from my point of view, a lot of businesses approach us because we do PR and they see PR as media. And so we try and educate them that yes, it is media, or yes, it could be media, but we also need to think about those other channels as well. And so then when we start saying, actually, this could work a lot harder if we can, if we boost it with some social ads or some pay-per-click, or if we also look at your own channels and doing some content there. And it's like we've said a few times now, it's just making things work as hard as possible and getting value for money.
Yeah, definitely.
So this was an example. So I just wanted to talk about how like marketing and PR works together in a bit more kind of detail, just to give a bit of an example, because it's all very well and good and you keep saying they need to work together, they kind of work together. But just to give you an example, so if, for example, you had an e-commerce product-based business, so first of all, you probably would start with your website, which Mike, you would know more about this than me, but things like making sure that the branding's right and the user journey's right and people can find what they need and they can buy things and all of that. So you'd start with the website, and then in order for people to find the website, you would then look at things like search engine optimization, pay-per-click. And then, like what I said before about the example with the holiday company, just because people find, if they're searching for a holiday in Spain, if you come up in the search engine results or a paid ad, people need to know who you are, what you are. They need to trust you. They need to see reviews and things. And then this is where the media can come in. And the media can also be a way of getting people onto your website as well. So I talked about product placement. So say, for example, if you have a product-based business and we get your product featured in a national newspaper, especially if it's online, chances are there's a link to it. So then people will click that link and then they'll go onto your website and land there. And then, but if we're getting people onto the website, then let's follow them around the internet with a nice remarketing campaign as well. And then if you've got things like reviews and other PR and news and stories, or if you've got influencer marketing, so then they're on Instagram. And, we've all, if anybody sort of knows even a little bit about marketing, you've probably heard it takes however many touch points before people buy. And it differs depending on whether you're targeting consumers or B2B buyers. But there's all these different touch points and they all need to work together and they all need to be joined up. So that's potentially like one buying journey that somebody, if you've got an e-commerce or product-based business, that could happen.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like I say, it's just all about making sure all of that is kind of thought about, and you take into consideration how everything works together. So if someone does land on your website from a pay-per-click campaign, what's going to happen next? Are they going to receive anything else? Are they going to, if they go away and they're going to get exposed to some marketing in another shape or form to try and reaffirm why your business is the right choice? It just kind of needs to be thought about in terms of a wider strategy.
Yeah, definitely. And then thinking about service-based business. So I've kind of talked about this already, but just to reiterate it, because I do love market research. So you commission some market research, and this will ideally be a specific audience, like you're asking for specific challenges or behaviours or attitudes or thoughts or opinions. And like the media loves data, and so if you can find new data, then you can create stories from it. And also, I mean, I've talked about commissioning your own market research, but I think businesses often overlook their own data. So we've worked with a lot of businesses, and their own sales data will provide interesting insights into consumer behaviour. So especially if you can tie it into the wider, like what's going on in the wider world. So at the moment, like it's interesting to see the reports coming out about like the number of sales for, you know, what B&Q selling loads of, and apparently we're all buying a lot more alcohol and spending a lot more on food. But so it's interesting to see, because it kind of reinforces what we're all experiencing. So have a look at your own sales data, because if there's like massive trends, like loads of people are buying a certain product, like why are they buying it? Is it because it's really fashionable? Or you'll sometimes see stories about, like, you know, Love Island's made teeth whitening products, like sales go sky high. So what are you selling? Why has there been a spike? What can you kind of tie it into that, why people are buying?
Yeah.
And so using that data as well, so you can do press releases, reports, webinars, thought leadership features. And I would do all of this because there's so many, and much more, because there's so much that you can use, and you'll be able to look at your data and cut up your data into different stories, and you'll be able to split it by different regions or different demographics. And there's just so much you can do with it. And the more you can do that with, and as well then thinking about using your own website. So if you've got your report on your website, is there somewhere that they can sign up to your mailing list? Are they then going to have a remarketing campaign as well, backed up by social media? Are there any kind of like closed social media groups they can join to discuss it? Can you invite them to talk about the market research and the findings and the data? There's loads of stuff you can do with it, which in turn will hopefully get you having that conversation with your target audience, which will lead to inquiries and then hopefully later sales.
Yeah, clearly so passionate about all that.
Love it. It just works so well, and it gives us a whole year at least of stuff to go out to the media with. It's brilliant.
Right, as well, like thinking about things strategically like that means that you're not having to think about new ideas every week.
Yeah,
do that all, you know, in a real strategic project to work out what we want to hang our hats on this quarter.
That's right. And it can be good idea to, I totally agree, like you can plan like a whole 12-month amount of content, but it's also worth keeping some budget aside to do reactive stuff. So earlier, the last webinar that we did, we talked through the COVID-19 comms research that we did, and that was great, and that was really reactive. It was basically, I saw a lot of people moaning about coronavirus related content and comms. We commissioned some research, just a few questions, but an audience of 2,000. That gave us some really, really timely insights, which helped us to go out to our clients, new business leads, other potential people that we could potentially work with, and also generate media coverage as well, because it's something that our target audience, marketing directors at companies want to know, and it was something that was helping people. So I think it's clever if you can keep some budget to do reactive stuff as well as the more planned.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose we talked about loads of different things within this. I suppose just to sort of sum up, I suppose where would you suggest businesses start right now in terms of thinking about bouncing back? What's the starting point that they need to really think about before they even start thinking about all of these different campaign ideas and stuff like that?
So definitely getting their business strategy and plan sorted first. What are they doing? Who are they targeting? What does their business look like? What are they selling? Who are they selling to? And then they need to get the PR and marketing strategies in line with that. You can't do any, there's no point in thinking about doing anything unless you're going to. And I think this is one of the problems why we've seen a lot of noise over the last couple of months, because I think everyone, not everyone, but some businesses, some people have gone into kind of panic mode, and they're just wanting to get themselves out there, be seen to be talking and commenting without really thought about what they're trying to achieve. But it's been good to speak. I think I'm definitely getting a sense from clients and from some other inquiries that we're getting in, that businesses have been using this time to review what's happening, what they're doing with their business. So I definitely think get everything in line, get your strategy with your PR and marketing, and then from there you can then start thinking of all the creative fun ideas to make it a reality.
Yeah, great.
What would you prioritize?
Exactly that, I suppose. It's just the starting point. It's just understand where your business is right now. How are you going to continue to do business? How are you going to potentially evolve the business and do it in different ways and react to the current situation? You need to go through that project first to really understand how you're going to continue to trade. Or, you know, we're talking very negatively, I suppose, around businesses that are struggling at the moment. A lot are still doing well. So it's like, okay, if you're doing well, how are you going to do even better? How are you going to take a leap on the competition and make the most of this opportunity? So maybe just going through that process strategically, and before you even start thinking about how you communicate that out and how you're going to connect with a new audience. Having a logical approach to it rather than a scattergun reacting.
Yeah, no knee-jerk reactions.
Yeah, exactly.
But hopefully, sort of, I mean, there's a lot of doom and gloom. It's hard not to be doom and gloom. There's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of anxiety in general. Yeah. But I am beginning to get the vibe that businesses are feeling a bit more optimistic. I think things like the bounce back loan and other government incentives are helping. I think we're still a long way out of whatever this mess is. But I think it's making me feel optimistic, hearing other businesses feel optimistic and talking proactively about what they're doing and what their plans are for the coming months. So hopefully, you know, it'll be all right.
Yeah, I suppose, you know, I'm running a virtual event next week on the 21st, which I've been working on for a couple of weeks. But that's all around helping businesses review where they're up to, reimagine their products and services, and then try and relaunch. I've had so much feedback over this last week in particular. I think post-Easter, where pre-Easter was a lot of very, very difficult situations for businesses having to navigate the immediate aftermath, and then a bit of a rest over Easter. And I feel like now, the last couple of weeks, they're now starting to think about the future, starting to think about coming back and putting plans to do so. And there's, like you say, it's a bit more of a positive situation than it has been so far. So yeah, let's leave it on that positive note.
Yeah, lovely. Well, great speaking to you, Mike.
Thank you. Speak to you soon.
Yeah, bye.